We're here for race one of the Scottish Classic Sports and Saloons, and the number one car of Stan Bernard lines up on pole position, as we've seen so much last year. He is the defending champion, and he has started off exactly where he left off, as I've said, on pole position. This is a familiar sight for you, isn't it?
Well, it's nice to be on pole. I think I was on pole the first meeting last year. But yes, we'll see how it goes. I think in qualifying we're all within about 0.1 of a second, the first 4 or 5 cars. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, it's nice and close. I had this scenario earlier on when I spoke to the Sports and Saloons drivers with Gary Watson, who won the championship previously, lined up on pole position, and it almost looked like a done deal. In the race, it all turned upside down and he didn't win.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. The Morgan certainly has got a power to weight ratio of benefit, and the other guys are very close, so we'll just have to do our best with the car and see how it goes.
You'll be keeping your fingers crossed that this doesn't turn into rain.
I wouldn't mind rain, to be honest. From the point of view of the Morgan, you usually get a wee bit of advantage over him in the wet. But I don't think it will rain in this race, maybe the second race.
Good luck, we're looking forward to watching.
Thanks very much, cheers.
Welcome along then to a new season for the Classic. Stan Bernard on pole position, Andrew Smith next to him in the Morgan. Next Willie Robertson and Raymond Boyd. Willie Toy on 5th on the grid, next to him Robert Marshall. Next Donald Laird and Matt Gordon. Jimmy Crowe, Alex Montgomery, Tim Reed and Robin Ben rounding off the top dozen. Nick Boys on Class A pole, then Colin Beveridge, Dave Scott and Grant Allen, Alan Barron and Alistair Coates 18th on the grid. Then it's Andy Walker and Caroline McMurdo, George Leach and Alan Dean, Steve Uphill and Christy Doran in 24th position at the back of the grid, Class A, the little MG midget of Ian Morton. Slightly revised class structure this year. We've got 5 classes instead of 4 that we had last year, and we'll hopefully have a chance to talk about that during the race. But it's the familiar sight of Stan Bernard on pole position and Andrew Smith on the outside in the Morgan Plus 8 Class D and E respectively. Jump start, Robert Marshall went before the light there. He's gone back. Whether he'll get penalised for that or not, I don't know. But Robert Marshall in the Escort actually slow away when it comes down to it, so he's anticipating, and that's a problem for Willie Toy in the TR8. Masses of smoke from Toy. Now if that's an engine let go, I was going to say there might be fluid all over the place, but a spin for Willie, and I think that's going to be, let's have a look, see if anyone else, there is fluid there, isn't there, for sure, on circuit. As into lead position goes Andrew Smith. So Smith, the reigning champion from what was Class D. Stan Bernard grabbing the line from Raymond Boyd, who's getting quicker and quicker in his 3-litre Porsche 911. Then we've got the Datsun 240Z of Willie Robertson in 4th place. And let's just recap let's do the first lap before we start talking about the other classes. Andrew Smith leading it, Raymond Boyd having a good go at Stan Bernard for 2nd position. Number 1, of course, on Stan's car, denoting, as Joe Tanner said at the start of the race, that he's the reigning champion, the Doon Cup holder, because that's the cup that they compete for in the Scottish Classics. Here comes Robert Marshall, who certainly didn't gain from the start, but I guess the officials will be very keen to make sure that other drivers don't do the same thing. I think we saw Colin Beveridge parked up, so Colin taking no further part. Now championship wise, as I said, the class structure differs from last year. Class A remains as that class catering for up to 1500cc. Class B is where we get our first change, 1500cc last year up to 2 litre, but this year up to 1800. And Class C last year was 2 litres to 3.6. Class C is now 1800 to 2.3 litre. We've got Class D 2.3 to 3.6 and Class E 3.6 and above. We still have the option of an invitation class for cars to come in and have a race if they wish, and the age specification remains 1947 to the 31st of December 1979. So probably not going to see too many different types of cars racing here this weekend, but we have got the split as we look at car number 46, Robin Ben in the Capri. He's in Class D, the 3-litre Capri, chasing the man who set Class A pole position, Nick Boys. So Nick, who had just about squeezed pole position ahead of Colin Beveridge in the Alfa Sud, and he's enjoying his race there with Tim Reed in the Marcos GT. So down Duffers Tip they go. And again, I've said it many times, but the fact that you've got all these different classes, different types of machinery, different power to weight ratios, different handling means that the drivers all have someone to race with, because you've got varying ability drivers as well. So Nick Boyes in 45, looking to pedal the Mini to another couple of class wins this weekend. He's also the man who sorts out the media side of the Classics, having taken over from Stan Bernard a season or so ago now. There they come. This is a cracking scrap. It's really, really good to see the Mini dicing with the 3 litre Capri. Porsche 924 in the mix as well, and that belongs to Dave Scott. Porsche 924 still running in their own championship. The Porsche Drivers Club have their own championship, which run with the 924s and the Boxsters as well. Up the hill for this one, 10-lap race. We'll probably see a couple of the guys start to get lapped over the course of the race. We've got 2 lady racers with us now in the Classics. Caroline McMurdo, who used to race the Legends cars, and Christy Doran, who's the daughter of the sports editor of the Scottish Sun, John Doran, who does such a lot to promote motor racing here in Scotland. And it's great to see Christy in the mix. She was racing in the Ginetta Junior Championship, supporting the British touring cars here at Knockhill last year, and she will no doubt be enjoying racing the Triumph TR8. But at the moment we're looking at Nick Boyes still trying to hunt down Tim Reed, with Robin Ben behind him in the Capri. So down the order we look, and just ahead of that, it's Alex Montgomery going through, incidentally, in the MGB GT. And a swap on for position here as David Scott makes it stick, I think, down the inside. I think he's gone through, so David Scott through, so good manoeuvre from him. Across goes Tim Reed. Meanwhile, we've still Andrew Smith still up front and trying to get clear of Stan Bernard. There is the Class A leader. Let's run through the other poles. Stan Bernard Class D pole sitter, Andrew Smith Class E. Robert Marshall was the Class C pole. Donald Laird in the Lotus Sedan. There he is, as if on cue, number 15. He was the Class B pole setter. Now, with 5 classes, it means that the numbers are probably slightly down in each class, but as you can see, it hasn't affected the grid overly, as Robert Marshall, who was such a star last year in Class B, pulls a manoeuvre up the hill we go. Robert Marshall carving his way through the field. A bit of spray on the Mark II Escort of Robert Marshall. Now, front runner last year, of course, was John Marshall, his brother, who is off rallying this year, so we wish John well with his rallying exploits. And Robert left to uphold family honours as far as the Classic Sports and Saloons are concerned. Robert's daughter is racing in the Minis, Elaine Marshall, doing pretty well this weekend. So Robert working the traffic pretty well at the moment, up to Carlu Corner. And the handling characteristics of that car absolutely superb, and so too are they for the Morgan Plus 8 that continues to lead. We saw the white Porsche 911 of Stan Bernard just a little way back. So Stan still in second position. Here comes the Mog. Glorious sound as it crosses the line. Datsun and Escort, probably best known as rally material, but excellent machines nonetheless to now use in circuit racing. Up to Carlu Corner, and Ray Boyd still there in third position. Ray not that far. Let's have a look to see if we can catch Stan Bernard in front of them, and he's getting close to Stan all the time. We've got to say race by race, Raymond Boyd. Through his lops down into the tri-oval section, into the hairpin. Willie Robertson looking for the outside line here. This could be brave stuff in the Datsun 240Z. I've got to say, that's almost on rails. That was, you tend to expect to see the tail end come out on that car, but it's not the case from the Datsun. 3 litre car. Robert Marshall's a 2 litre Screamer, of course, in the Escort, but there's the man in second position, leading Class D still. Nick Boyes is still incidentally leading Class A. Steve Uphill in the Ford Fiesta having a little bit of a problem as they went down Duffer's Tip, maybe a little bit in awe of the faster cars coming through. It can be a little bit of a culture shock. The lead runners are going to complete 10 laps for the race. Probably the Class A, Bs and a couple of Cs probably you would expect to be a lap down, and we've seen some of those a lap down already. as the Morgan lights ablaze for the benefits of the traffic still comes through. Stan Bernard still in second place, but Andrew Smith it is who's making this one look very easy from the front row of the grid. Came through in lead position by the end of the first lap. Up the hill we go once again, and there's the last lap board, nearly an afterthought actually for the marshal, but Andrew well on his way from Stan Bernard in second position. Ray Boyd is still there in the blue 911 in third position. Dave Scott is there in the Porsche 94. We just saw him go through shot. He's still on the lead lap. I don't know whether Dave's going to get past or not. I think he's got a bit of breathing space over Andrew Smith at the moment. And Scott's lap times, he's been doing 66 second laps, so that would explain why he's only just now about nearly a lap down on the race leader Andrew Smith, who comes around Real Radio for the last time. Scott's not going to be lapped. Ahead of Scott you've got Alan Barron. I think he's just passed, but Andrew Smith takes the race win. Stan Bernard in second position. Willie Robertson takes third on the road, but will drop down to fourth place with that 10-second penalty. Andrew Smith confirmed as the winner from Stan Bernard, who wins his class. Ray Boyd in third from Willie Robertson and Robert Marshall. Alex Montgomery in sixth place in the MGB GT. Nick Boys wins Class A. Robin Ben next. Then it's Dave Scott and Alan Barron. George Leach in 11th place and Donald Laird in 12th, winning Class B. Grant Allen next from Andy Walker. Then it's Alistair Coates. Ian Morton 16th and Christy Doran, the first finish in the Classics, in 17th.
Welcome to another episode of Racing No Filter. Joining me in sunny California, Bill Wood, and down in sunny Florida, Peter King.
We're going to take a look at some of the products HPD has created for the 2012 Honda Civic, and specifically we're going to show you how to install an adjustable sway bar.
Until then, folks out there, you take care.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new Go Racing TV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Here's the grid for race 2. Andrew Smith on pole with Stan Bernard alongside. Then it's Ray Boyd and Willie Robertson on row 2. Robert Marshall and Alex Montgomery row 3. Then it's Nick Boys and Robin Ben, David Scott and Alan Barron, Tim Reed and Donald Laird completing row 6. 7th row, Grant Allen and Andy Walker. Then it's Alistair Coates and Ian Morton. Christy Doran and Tim Reed on the 9th row of the grid. Row 10, Jimmy Crowe and Matt Gordon. Then it's Steve Uphill and Willie Toy, Colin Beveridge and Caroline McMurdo on row 12. On his own at the back, Alan Dean. A few non-starters for this one. Unfortunately, we've lost Caroline McMurdo and Alan Dean as well in the Lotus 7, and Tim Reed after a non-finish in race number 1. But the eyes are going to be looking everywhere on the grid, especially at the front, of course, ready for the start. And will Andrew Smith be able to make it a double class winners from round 1? Andrew Smith in E, Stan Bernard D, Robert Marshall in Class C, Donald Laird in Class B, and Nick Boys in the Mini winning Class A. They'll be looking to repeat their success in this race too. Wait for the lights to come on the gantry. There's 2, 3, 10 laps of Scottish Classic Sports and Saloon Car action. Great start from Stan Bernard. He's got his wish. In terms of damp circuit, it's not outright wet. And let's see where to stand. He got away well, he got off the line well, but Andy Smith powers his way into the lead. Now, Robert Marshall didn't jump the start this time. There's the MGB GT, a great little car, a good performance from Alex Montgomery in race number 1, who took second in Class E behind the Morgan. So great to see the MG, and let's hope it's a regular in the championship as we go on board with Willie Toy, a non-finisher in race 1, having to work his way through the field. And there's Jimmy Crowe in front of him, the Mark 1 Escort. Ahead of Jimmy Crowe, it's Grant Allen in the red Porsche 911. Jimmy Crow, always a great driver to watch in the Escort. And Willie Toy, a great driver to watch as well, who gets it all sideways over the... He's got a bit more work to do, but just say what a fantastic driver he is to watch. And he's giving us some real spectacle there as Andrew Smith leads us around, a little bit of tail out as he comes out of the hairpin for the first time. 9 laps to go, and up across the line with Stan Bernard in second place. A great look at the field as they go through. So there's Raymond Boyd, who is in the 911 at the moment. I was going to say soaking up pressure, but he's not having any pressure at the moment for Robert Marshall in 4th position. This is the view on board from Robert's car, and his aim, of course, is to climb that little bit further up. Robert, who prior to last season had a little bit of a sabbatical to racing, used to race in the Legends Cars Championship, and of course the more track time you get, the better you're going to be, and I think that's the case with Raymond Boyd as well. And it wouldn't surprise me to see Robert taking some more race wins as the season unfolds out of Clark Corner, or Carloop as it's known, and then down the railway straight towards the hairpin. Andrew Smith getting away, Stan Bernard in second place, lights ablaze. You can see the drying line, and I think any excursions off there to explore the possibilities of overtaking will be very, very tricky indeed. So any overtaking we see is going to have to be, I think, that those guys have got a power advantage, or perhaps the Brave, and this sort of machinery, a lot of the drivers just want to take the cars home in one bit. We don't want to see any biffs and shunts, so I don't think we're going to expect to see anything banzai, as that maybe as the line gets a little bit wider we might, but for the new drivers, of course, it gives a great idea of where the racing line is. But look at that, what a great sight, 3 cars all dicing over second place. Stan Bernard holding it at the moment with his class rival Raymond Boyd right behind him. Then it's Robert Marshall. Marshall now in Class C, as we mentioned, in the changing class structure. Look in the background, 5th position, Alex Montgomery, doing really well in the MGB GT. A little bit tail happy from the Escort, that's what we love to see. As Andrew Smith continues to get away. Willie Robertson got the fastest lap in race 1, incidentally, a 61.614. Now with this race being a little bit more damp, things have slowed down just a little bit, and we're looking at depending what class you got, the fastest lap's going to be in the region of about 65 seconds. That's what Andrew Smith's looking for at the moment in the +8, up across the line again, reels off another lap. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, all pretty much equal at the moment. Stan Bernard using all his experience as reigning champion. It's going to be cat and mouse between the classes this year. So I think I neglected to mention Jimmy Crow running in Class C. And of course he had a non-finish in race 1, but he is the competition for Robert Marshall in this one. So apologies, Jimmy. So he is running in Class C. Robert Marshall leading class at the moment. And now cutting his way through the field, Willie Toy, who's up to 8th place now with that manoeuvre. 9th position, Jimmy Crow, back with Robert Marshall, past the Triumph Sport of Andy Walker, and still chasing Stan Bernard. So this means that Ray Boyd is down to 4th place now. So Raymond Boyd, and that's great news for Stan Bernard because he leads Class D. Ray Boyd's still 2nd in Class D, but we've got this 1-car cushion at the moment for Stan, unless Robert Marshall can marshal the Escort past the Porsche 911 of the reigning champion. So we're into the closing stages of this one. Still Andrew Smith is the fastest man, well, he's the man at the head of the field. Fastest man on circuit is Robert Marshall. So we're on board with Robert Marshall, 65.576, his best lap time. Andrew Smith's best time, 105.848. Stan Bernard's is in the 66s. But here is the man that leads the race, coming up on Grant Allen in the red Porsche 911, who's going to find himself a lap down in Class D. So Andy Smith is there. I can't see whether Andrew Smith's going to lap anybody else. He's got one more lap to go, and the next car to lap will be Alan Barron in the Alpha Sun Sprint, and we might get a glimpse of Alan before the end of the lap. But Andrew Smith is on for overall double win, plus 2 wins in Class E. Stan Bernard running 2nd at the moment, and the RPM Russell Patterson Motorsport prepared Morgan +8 on its last lap. It's been a faultless drive from Andrew Smith away from the front row of the grid. It'll be great to see some perhaps more competition in Class E. Alex Montgomery running second in Class E in the MG, and Christy Doran fourth in Class E by my calculations, behind Willie Toy. So Christy's going to pick up a few points, which is going to be great for her classic debut. But Andrew Smith, absolutely superb, clean, smooth style, no problems at all. Stan Bernard chasing him. Robert Marshall still gunning for second overall. Into the hairpin for the last time. The entrance into the hairpin was just the right line for Stan Bernard to hang on to it. But there is the checkered flag, and it's Andrew Smith that takes the second win, second outright win, second class win of the year. Stan Bernard wins Class D. Robert Marshall, third overall, wins Class C once again as Grant Allen goes through. And let's have a look at confirmation of the result. Andrew Smith taking the win from Stan Bernard, who wins Class D. Robert Marshall wins Class C. Then it was Ray Boyd and Willie Robertson, with Alex Montgomery second in Class E, taking 6 overall. Seventh and winning Class B was Donald Laird. Then it was Willie Toy and Robin Benn. Nick Boyce 10th, wins Class A. Then it was Dave Scott and George Leach in 12th place. 13th, Alan Barron from Grant Allen. Then Andy Walker and Ian Morton. Alistair Coates 17th and Christy Doran in 18th.
And the winner from the Classic Sports and Saloons, the number 73, Black Morgan, as it was this morning. 2 wins today, wet, slippery conditions. You must have been waiting for that Porsche.
For sure. I'm surprised got to the first corner ahead of him. He's usually pretty good on the wet and the starts with the weight on the back end, but somehow got there first and just managed to stay ahead of him. There was some dry, a little bit of a dry line, so that helped, but kept it interesting.
Absolutely, yeah. It is the start of a long season, but we might be seeing that number 1 plate jumping off the Porsche for the first time in a while and landing on this Morgan.
Oh, I don't know. Stan's a wily campaigner.
Good stuff. We'll watch it develop throughout the year, but well done for today.
Great, thank you. Cheers.
Second place in the Scottish Sports and Saloons is last year's champion, Stan Bernard. Not been the most smoothest day.
Oh, it was fine really. I was quite happy with the performance of the car. I know that against the Morgan, sometimes I can beat him in the wet, but it wasn't quite wet enough perhaps. But I had no wipers as well, but that's no excuse, because he's got no wipers, he's only got a visor. But the car went fairly well, at least we had a wet setup on it for this race.
Are we seeing a dry line start to develop out the back of it?
Yeah, there's definitely a dry line, but you want to keep off the curbs, as I mentioned before. But no, it's reasonably dry-ish, but it's still a bit slippy.
Good stuff, good points all.
Yes, full points, I'm pleased with that.
Well done.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Third place in the Classic Sports and Saloons is our man Robert Marshall here in a lovely looking Escort. You like the wet conditions, don't you?
It certainly suited me today, certainly suited me today. I managed to get grip where I thought other folk weren't getting it, and it paid off. Coming in third position, I was delighted. Starting fifth on the grid.
Did it start to dry out round the back halfway through?
That was the thing, it did start to dry out, but we were all taking the exact same line to try and get the grip, so it made it very close racing. So I managed to get past Raymond, and Raymond drove a fantastic race, but I managed to get past him, and it worked to the benefit for me, so thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well done, and it's a lovely looking car.
Brilliant, thanks very much, Joe, appreciate that.
I'm here with the winner of Class A, Nick Boyce, in what is a lovely looking little Mini. How does it handle out there in these wet conditions?
Well, it's entirely predictable. It's down on power compared to the bigger cars, but come these wet conditions, their advantage is neutralised, because this thing just handles like a dream. It's front-wheel drive. You just power through a corner. Doesn't matter what the back's doing, as long as the front's aimed where you want to be.
And your foot's buried to the floor?
All the time, yeah. I mean, it's traditional Mini territory, actually. So as soon as it rains, the conditions come to its handling advantage, but then it develops a misfire like every other Mini, So it's on 3 cylinders just now.
So you're hoping just to make it to the finish?
I was hoping to make it to the finish, with an eye, in the mirror to make sure that my competitors weren't too close, So, I did my best.
Well done, fantastic result.
Thank you very much, cheers.
Unfortunately, that's all we have time for in this week's programme, but join us next time for more exciting action from the Sports and Saloons and Scottish Classic Sports and Saloons.